everybody, it's Khristina from Redefine Creative, and I am super excited to be back with another episode of I Double Dare You. And this is a series where my friend Laura Alberts and I issue each other and all of you a challenge on the first Friday of the month. And then we come back on the third Friday of the month and take on each other's challenge. So for today, you can tell I am playing with some really bright, fun primary colors. And so that is going to be my challenge for Laura, because this is a color combination that I don't see her use too often. So I want to see some really bright, fun, like primary colors. So I've got the yellow, red, blue, but then I'm also pulling in, like teals and oranges and those types of colors as well. So I'm going to use 4 photos on this layout, which is something you guys keep requesting, is to see ideas for multi-photo layouts. So I've got 4. And I printed them using the Project Life app so that I could have like 4 3x4 pictures instead of a bunch of pictures I needed to trim down. And so these are from California Adventure going on the IncrediCoaster. And this was the first time the kids had been on the IncrediCoaster. And so we had kind of a funny story to tell that goes along with it. So I'm going to use this blue kind of graph paper, pattern paper from Shimelle's field trip as my background. And this is still to this day one of my absolute favorite collections of all time. I am such a huge fan of the field trip collection. So I am going to bring in this yellow paper with the white plus signs, and this is from Ellie Studio, but it mixes really, really well with this particular collection. And so I'm going to start this layout in one direction and end up going in a different direction. So I knew that I wanted to have my photos kind of lined up horizontally, but they're going to overlap each other like in a little bit of wonky angles. And then I also knew that I wanted a bunch of strips of colored pattern paper. So I'm going ahead and getting all of kind of my strips of pattern paper. I had pulled out this kind of turquoise color, but I'm not going to end up using it. But I did want that little star like manufacturer strip. So I'm going to go ahead and put my yellow paper down right on top of the blue. So I'm building my foundation of my background first. And I flip it over and see this geometric that I also really, really love. So this is one of those like squirrel moments where my brain is like, oh, I need some extra of that. So I go back to one of my field trip paper pads. So I'm not, going to admit to you guys exactly how much of this collection that I have, but let's just say it's a lot. So I go to grab a piece of this geometric and I'm going to try and work that in. It doesn't end up making the cut on the layout, which I should have just went with my first, thought that it wasn't going to be on there, but I try. So I have this one that has the colored strips. I have this bright pop of red. I have my stars. Like, I know I want all of these pieces to be part of it, and that's where the geometric just kind of gets left out. Like, it's just too much. So I'm going to use just a tiny piece of that one that has all of the stripes, and then I'm going to layer it up with the stars and with the red, and I'm putting that kind of overlapping with the yellow that I've already added to the background. So I'm creating a background that has a bunch of different layers of pattern paper. I have also cut off a manufacturing strip that has the colored polka dots that also match this collection. And I'm going to end up putting that one down at the bottom, or what I think is going to be the bottom. So right now, this is kind of how I have my layout set up. And then I put my pictures back on it. And I'm just not loving how the pictures are matching with where the patterns are. So what I end up doing is taking the entire background I've created and flipping it over. So now I've got the yellow at the top instead, and that for some reason just made a huge difference in how much I like the layout. Now I wanted to try and get these circle cut files in here because I feel like they kind of mimic the look of like this roller coaster idea and the track and that kind of thing. So I definitely want to get the cut file in there. But it gets kind of lost with my photos. So the way I remedy that is I'm just going to take the whole thing and cut it in half. And this is going to let me take that top part and tuck it into the top of my pictures, and then the bottom part tucked into the bottom part of my pictures. And once the layout is put together, you would never even know that it's not a full like cut file because so much of it is covered up. But it really does bring in that look of a roller coaster, and I really like that part. So I'm just going to kind of take this one cut file and expand it out to make it work. And I think that it turns out working just lovely. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that part down. And then I know that my photos are going to sit, like I said, on that line right across the page. And the way I'm going to arrange my circle cut file on the bottom is purposeful to like leave a spot for where I know I want my title to be. So I want to use my favorite thickers in the whole world that also are part of this collection. So I have the red and the blue, and they both come like in one pack together if you're not familiar with those. And I want to spell out the word IncrediFun. So this is the IncrediCoaster, so I want my title to be IncrediFun, which is, you know, kind of cheesy, but sort of fun. And so I'm going to purposefully leave a space down here with my circles kind of over there on the left where I'm going to be able to build a title. And I'm going to use that big circle in the bottom right to kind of contain my story. So this was the very first time they took the roller coaster at California Adventure and changed it into the IncrediCoaster. So they added all of these like Incredibles elements to the coaster ride itself. And so I had been on it before. So I had spent time telling the kids, like, you have to look around, you have to look up, you have to, so that you can see all the cool little additions that they made to the ride. So we get on the ride. And we go, and it's awesome, and they love it, and we get off, and Ty and Natty are like, that was so cool. Did you see this? Did you see that? And Parker's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, what do you mean, dude? What do you mean, what are we talking about? Well, Parker, being the massive rule follower that he is, had taken his glasses off and was looking like straight ahead the entire ride. So he missed all of it, all the things. So he had no clue what we were talking about. And we were like, are you serious right now? And he was so bummed. And so we immediately got back in line to go on it again because he was so bummed that he had missed all of the cool, fun stuff. And so we go again, and he gets off, and he's like, wow, I missed everything that happened. And it was really, really funny. So that is the story that I'm telling, and I'm going to fit it into that little circle. So it's not going to be as long-winded as it just was with you, but it is going to fit in that little circle so that we have that documented. So now all I'm doing is kind of building these 3 little embellishment clusters. So I'm mainly using the sticker sheet. There's a couple of other little pieces I get in there, but I'm mainly using just the sticker sheet because I've played with the ephemera a lot, but I haven't really played with this sticker sheet a whole lot. So I've got some phrase stickers in there. I've added that little viewfinder, which is just adorable. I've got a couple little cameras. So I'm not doing a ton of embellishing because I really don't feel like this layout needs it. I am going to take a bunch of these stars and dots and add them to each of my clusters, and I am keeping everything balanced. So I add a blue star to each of them, and then I add an orange star to each of them, and then I add like a teal little circle dot to each of them. So I've got my 3 clusters, I've got 1 of each type in each cluster, and each cluster has 3 of those little epoxy shapes. So I'm keeping everything balanced this time. I've got 3 phrases that I put underneath my title, and then I'm just looking at this Vicky Boot and chipboard to see if there's any of that I want to use because it has these bright, like, fun colors as well. But I don't really see anything that I feel like it needs. So I am going to go ahead and do my journaling so you can kind of see how it looks with the journaling in place. But that is basically going to do it for this layout. So my challenge for you this month for Double Dare You is to play with bright, fun primary colors. So Laura, I can't wait to see what you come up with, and everybody else, I would love to see what you make for this challenge as well. And I will be back on the 3rd Friday of the month taking on Laura's challenge. Bye, everybody.